Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande.
So before we begin reading Srimad Bhagavatam from where we left off yesterday, let us continue our vow to read Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which he wrote after he wrote Brihad Bhagavatamrita, contained in a short but very blissful work called Sri Krishna Lila Stava, which was meant to glorify the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan in 108 obeisances. And this is the 107th obeisance in this book. It's found in texts 412 through 416. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Duditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Savasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Manistadanga Madbhagya Madananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy. I bow down to you. Sadhu tadayin atini chochatakara anamunchakadachin mam premnaret nadayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today, Yamaraj begins his instructions to his messengers. They've been soundly defeated by the Vishnudutas and they're bewildered. They thought that their master Yamaraj was the supreme authority of anyone. And they've come back and now their master is going to instruct them. Chapter 3, text, Canto 6, text 1. King Parikshit said, O my lord, O Shukadev Goswami, Yamaraj is the controller of all living entities in terms of their religious and irreligious activities. But his order had been foiled. When his servants, the Yamadutas, informed him of their defeat by the Vishnudutas, who had stopped them from arresting Ajamil, what did he reply? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that although the statements of the Yamadutas were fully upheld by Vedic principles, the statements of the Vishnudutas were triumphant. This was confirmed by Yamaraj himself. Text 2. O great sage, never before has it been heard of anywhere that an order from Yamaraj has been baffled. Therefore I think that people will have doubts about this, that no one but you can eradicate. Since that is my firm conviction, kindly explain the reasons for these events. Text 3. Shri Shukadev Goswami replied, My dear king, when the order carriers of Yamaraj were baffled and defeated by the order carriers of Vishnu, they approached their master, the controller of Samyamani Puri and master of sinful persons, to tell him of this incident. Text 4. The Yamaduta said, Our dear Lord, how many controllers or rulers are there in this material world? How many causes are responsible for manifesting the various results of activities performed under the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the Yamadutas, the order carriers of Yamaraj, were so disappointed that they asked their master, almost in great anger, whether there were many masters other than him. Furthermore, because the Yamadutas had been defeated and their master could not protect them, they were inclined to say that there was no need to serve such a master. If a servant cannot carry out the orders of his master without being defeated, what is the use of serving such a powerless master? Text 5. If in this universe there are many rulers and justices who disagree about punishment and reward, their contradictory actions will neutralize each other, and no one will be punished or rewarded. Otherwise, if their contradictory acts fail to neutralize each other, everyone will have to be both punished and rewarded. Purport. Because the Yamadutas had been unsuccessful in carrying out the order of Yamaraj, they doubted whether Yamaraj actually had the power to punish the sinful. Although they had gone to arrest Ajamil following Yamaraj's order, they found themselves unsuccessful because of the order of some higher authority. Therefore they were unsure of whether there were many authorities or only one. If there were many authorities who gave different judgments, which could be contradictory, a person might be wrongly punished or wrongly rewarded, or he might be neither punished nor rewarded. According to our experience in the material world, a person punished in one court may appeal to another. Thus, the same man may be either punished or rewarded according to different judgments. However, in the law of nature, or the court of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, There cannot be such contradictory judgments. The judges and their judgments must be perfect and free from contradictions. Actually, the position of Yamaraj was very awkward in the case of Ajamil, because the Yamadutas were right in attempting to arrest Ajamil, but the Vishnudutas had baffled them. Although Yamaraj under these circumstances was accused by both the Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas, he is perfect in administering justice because he is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he will explain what his real position is and how everyone is controlled by the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead.
Six, the Yamadutas continued, since there are many different karmis or workers, there may be different judges or rulers to give them justice, but just as one central emperor controls different departmental rulers, there must be one supreme ruler to guide all the judges. Purport, in governmental management, there may be departmental officials to give justice to different persons, but the law must be one. And that central law must control everyone. The Yamadutas could not imagine that two judges would give two different verdicts in the same case, and therefore they wanted to know who the central judge is. The Yamadutas were certain that Ajamil was a most sinful man, but although Yamaraj wanted to punish him, the Vishnudutas excused him. This was a puzzling situation that the Yamadutas wanted Yamaraj to clarify. 7. The Supreme Judge must be one, not many. It was our understanding that you were the Supreme Judge and that you have jurisdiction even over the demigods. Our impression was that you are the master of all living entities, the supreme authority who discriminates between the pious and impious activities of all human beings. But now we see that the punishment ordained under your authority is no longer effective, since your order has been transgressed by 4 wonderful and perfect persons. Purport, the Yamadutas had been under the impression that Yamaraj was the only person in charge of administering justice. They were fully confident that no one could counteract his judgments, but now, to their surprise, his order had been violated by the 4 wonderful persons from Siddhaloka. 9. We were bringing the most sinful Ajamil toward the hellish planets, following your order, when those beautiful persons from Siddhaloka forcibly cut the knots of the ropes with which we are arresting him. Purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that the Yamadutas wanted to bring the Vishnudutas before Yamaraj. If Yamaraj could then have punished the Vishnudutas, the Yamadutas would have been satisfied. 10. As soon as the sinful Ajamil uttered the name Narayana, these 4 beautiful men immediately arrived and reassured him, saying, "Do not fear, do not fear. We wish to know about them from your lordship. If you think we are able to understand them, kindly describe who they are." Purport, the order carriers of Yamaraj, being very much aggrieved because of their defeat by the 4 Vishnudutas, wanted to bring them before Yamaraj, and if possible, punish them. Otherwise, they desired to commit suicide. Before pursuing either course, however, they wanted to know about the Vishnudutas from Yamaraj, who is also omniscient.
Text 11. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, thus having been questioned, Lord Yamaraj, the supreme controller of the living entities, was very pleased with his order carriers because of hearing from them the holy name of Narayana. He remembered the lotus feet of the Lord and began to reply. Purport. Srila Yamaraj, the supreme controller of the living entities in terms of their pious and impious activities, was very pleased with his servants because they had chanted the holy name of Narayana in his dominion. Yamaraj has to deal with men who are all sinful and who can hardly understand Narayana. Consequently, when his order carriers uttered the name of Narayana, he was extremely pleased, for he is also a Vaishnava. Text 12. Yamaraj said, "My dear servants, you have accepted me as the supreme, but factually I am not. Above me and above all other demigods, including Indra and Chandra, is the one supreme master and controller. The partial manifestations of his personality are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who were in charge of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this universe. He is like the two threads that form the length and breadth of a woven cloth. The entire world is controlled by him, just as a bull is controlled by a rope in its nose." Purport. The order carriers of Yamaraj suspected that there was a ruler even above Yamaraj. To eradicate their doubts, Yamaraj immediately replied, "Yes, there is one supreme controller above everything. Yamaraj is in charge of some of the moving living entities, namely the human beings, but the animals who also move are not under his control. Only human beings have consciousness of right and wrong, and among them only those who have performed sinful activities come under the control of Yamaraj. Therefore, although Yamaraj is a controller, he is only a departmental controller of a few living entities. There are other demigods who control many other departments, but above them all is one supreme controller, Krishna, Ishvara, Paramak Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. The supreme controller is Krishna. Others who control their own departments in the affairs of the universe are insignificant in comparison to Krishna, the supreme controller. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, "Mattak paradhanam nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya." My dear Dhananjaya, Arjuna, no one is superior to me. Therefore Yamaraj immediately cleared away the doubts of his assistants, the Yamadutas, by confirming that there is a supreme controller above all others. Srila Madhvacharya explains that the words Otam Protam refer to the cause of all causes. The Supreme Lord is both vertical and horizontal to the cosmic manifestation. This is confirmed by the following verse from the Skanda Purana. Yata kanta pata purutra otak protas jasas jataha evam vishna idam vishwam otam protam chasangshitam. Like the two threads, horizontal and vertical, of which a quilt is manufactured, Lord Vishnu is situated as the vertical and horizontal cause of the cosmic manifestation. Text 13. Just as the driver of a bullock cart ties ropes through the nostrils of his bulls to control them, the Supreme Personality of Godhead binds all men through the ropes of his words in the Vedas, which set forth the names and activities of the distinct orders of human society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. In fear, the members of these orders all worship the Supreme Lord by offering him presentations according to their respective activities. Purport. In the material world, everyone is conditioned, regardless of who he is. One may be a human being, a demigod, or an animal, tree, or plant, but everything is controlled by the laws of nature. And behind this natural control is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed by Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna says, Maya Dakshini Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. The material nature is working under my direction and producing all moving and non-moving beings. Thus Krishna is behind the natural machine, which works under his control. Apart from other living entities, the living being in the human form of this body is systematically controlled by the Vedic injunctions in terms of the divisions of Varna and Ashrama. A human being is expected to follow the rules and regulations of Varna and Ashram. Otherwise, he cannot escape punishment by Yamaraj. The point is that every human being is expected to elevate himself to the position of a Brahmana, the most intelligent man, and then one must transcend that position to become a Vaishnava. This is the perfection of life. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra can elevate themselves by worshipping the Lord according to their activities. Swe, swe, karmanyabhitarak, sangsitim, labate naraha. The divisions of Varna and Ashram are necessary to ensure the proper execution of duties and peaceful existence for everyone. But everyone is directed to worship the Supreme Lord, who is all-pervading. Yena sarvamidang titam. The Supreme Lord exists vertically and horizontally, otam proktam. And therefore, if one follows the Vedic injunctions by worshipping the Supreme Lord according to one's ability, his life will be perfect. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Atak pumbir dvijashrishta varnasham vibhagashaha sanushthitasya dharmasya sangsitir haritoshanam. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the Lord Hari. The Varnashram institution offers the perfect process for making one eligible for to return home, back to Godhead, because the aim of every Varna and ashram is to please the Supreme Lord. One can please the Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, and if one does so, his life is perfect. The Supreme Lord is worshipable, and everyone worships him directly or indirectly. Those who worship him directly get the results of liberation quickly, whereas the liberation of those who serve him indirectly is delayed. The words nama bir vachi are very, very important. In the Varnashram institution, there are different names: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. The Vak, or Vedic injunctions, give directions for all these divisions. Everyone is expected to offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord and perform duties as indicated in the Vedas. Text 14 and 15. Wow, are there two eyes together there? Do you see two eyes in the beginning of the translation? Yeah, I've got two eyes. Two eyes, see? And they're both here. Oh, you have one. Anybody have two? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm the only one. I'm the winner. I got two. Everybody else has got one. Eh? Eh? Yeah, okay, I'll make a note. I got to take that out. We have to take that out of the database. It's a mistake. Don't worry. We are Vishnudutas, not Yamadutas. Oh. I, Yamaraj, Indra, the king of heaven, Niriti, Varuna, Chandra, the moon god, Agni, Lord Shiva, Pavana, Lord Brahma, Surya, the sun god, Vishwasu, the 8 Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Maruts, the Rudras, the Siddhas, Marichi, and the other great rishis, engaged in maintaining the departmental affairs of the universe, the best of the demigods, headed by Brihaspati, and the great sages, headed by Bhrigu, are all certainly freed from the influence of the two base material modes of nature, namely passion and ignorance. Nevertheless, although we are in the mode of goodness, we cannot understand the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then is to be said of others who, under illusion, merely speculate to know God? Purport. The man and other living entities within this cosmic manifestation are controlled by the 3 modes of nature. For the living entities controlled by the base qualities of nature, passion and ignorance, there is no possibility of understanding God. Even those in the mode of goodness, like the many demigods and great rishis described in these verses, cannot understand the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one who is situated in the devotional service of the Lord is transcendental to all the material qualities. Therefore the Lord personally says that no one can understand him but the bhaktas, who were transcendental to all material qualities. Bhaktya mam abhijanati, as stated by Bhishmadev to Maharaj Yudhishthir in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nayasya kayachit rajan puman veda viditsitam yad vijigyasya tukto muyanti kavayopihi. O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. No one, therefore, can understand God by speculative knowledge. Indeed, by speculation, one will be bewildered. Muyanti. This is also confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit karidisadaye yatatam apisanam kaschit mam viditatpataha. Among many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and even among the siddhas, those who have already become perfect, only one who adopts the process of bhakti, devotional service, can understand Krishna.
16. As the different limbs of the body cannot see the eyes, the living entities cannot see the Supreme Lord, who is situated as the Supersoul in everyone's heart. Not by the senses, by the mind, by the life air, by thoughts within the heart, or by the vibration of words can the living entities ascertain the real situation of the Supreme Lord. Purport: although the different parts of the body do not have the power to see the eyes direct the movements of the body's different parts. The legs move forward because the eyes see what is in front of them, and the hand touches because the eyes see touchable entities. Similarly, every living entity acts according to the direction of the Supersoul, who is situated within the heart. As the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto mataksmitir jnanam apohanam cha. I'm sitting in everyone's heart and giving directions for remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita it is stated, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshirjuna tishtiti. The Supreme Lord as the Supersoul is situated within the heart. The living entity cannot do anything without the sanction of the Supersoul. The Supersoul is acting at every moment, but the living entity cannot understand the form and activities of the Supersoul by manipulating his senses. The example of the eyes and the bodily limbs is very appropriate. If the limbs could see, they could walk forward without the help of the eyes, but that is impossible. Although one cannot see the Supersoul in one's heart through sensual activities, his direction is necessary. 17. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features, and similarly, his order carriers, the Vaishnavas, who are very beautiful, possess bodily features, transcendental qualities, and a transcendental nature, almost like his. They always wander within this world with full independence. Purport: Yamaraj was describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, but the order carriers of Yamaraj were very eager to know about the Vishnudutas, who had defeated them in their encounter with Ajamil. Yamaraj therefore stated that the Vishnudutas resemble the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their bodily features, transcendental qualities, and nature. In other words, the Vishnudutas or Vaishnavas are almost as qualified as the Supreme Lord. Yamaraj informed the Yamadutas that the Vishnudutas are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu. Since Vishnu is above Yamaraj, the Vishnudutas are above the Yamadutas. Persons protected by the Vishnudutas, therefore, cannot be touched by the Yamadutas. 18. The order carriers of Lord Vishnu, who are worshipped even by the demigods, possess wonderful bodily features exactly like those of Vishnu and are very rarely seen. The Vishnudutas protect the devotees of the Lord from the hands of enemies, from envious persons, and even from my jurisdiction, as well as from natural disturbances. Purport: Yamaraj has specifically described the qualities of the Vishnudutas to convince his own servants not to be envious of them. Yamaraj warned the Yamadutas that the Vishnudutas are worshipped with respectful obeisances by the demigods and are always very alert to protect the devotees of the Lord from the hands of enemies, from natural disturbances, and from all dangerous conditions in this material world. Sometimes the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are afraid of the impending danger of world war and ask what would happen to them if a war should occur. In all kinds of danger, they should be confident of their protection by the Vishnudutas, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Konteya pratijanihi nami bhakta pranashyati. Material danger is not meant for devotees. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Padam padam yam vipadam natesham. In this material world there are dangers at every step, but they are not meant for devotees who have fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. The pure devotees of Lord Vishnu may rest assured of the Lord's protection, and as long as they are in this material world, they should fully engage in devotional service by preaching the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna, namely the Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness. That's very explicit. It says right here, the pure devotees of Lord Vishnu may rest assured of the Lord's protection, and as long as they are in this material world, they should fully engage in the devotional service, by preaching the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna, namely the Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness. It's the Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness, and it's the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna. To be sure. Make no mistake. 19. Accept no substitutions. 19. Real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam navai vidurashayonapi deva nisidha mukhya sura manusya kuto nuvidyadara charunardaya. Real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or leaders of Siddhaloka. To say nothing of the asuras and ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas and Charanas. Purport: when challenged by the Vishnudutas to describe the principles of religion, the Yamadutas said, Veda pranihito dharma. The religious principles are the principles enacted in the Vedic literature. They did not know, however, that the Vedic literature contains ritualistic ceremonies that are not transcendental, but are meant to keep peace and order among materialistic persons in the material world. That is priceless. Real religious principles are nisraigunya, above the three modes of material nature or transcendental. The Yamadutas did not know these transcendental religious principles, and therefore, when prevented from arresting Ajamil, they were surprised. Materialistic persons who attach all their faith to the Vedic rituals are described in Bhagavad Gita 242, wherein Krishna says, Vedavadarata parta nanyadastiti vadinaha. The supposed followers of the Vedas say that there is nothing beyond the Vedic ceremonies. Indeed, there is a group of men in India who are very fond of the Vedic rituals, not understanding the meaning of these rituals, which are intended to elevate one gradually to the transcendental platform of knowing Krishna. Vedaishya sarver ahame viveja. Those who do not know this principle, but who simply attach their faith to the Vedic rituals, are called Vedavadarata. Herein it is stated that the real religious principle is that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That principle is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. One should give up all other duties and surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the real religious principle everyone should follow. Even though one follows Vedic scriptures, one may not know this transcendental principle, for it is not known to everyone. To say nothing of human beings, even the demigods in the upper planetary systems are unaware of it. This transcendental religious principle must be understood from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly or from his special representative, as stated in the next verses. Question, sir. Oh, microphone.
I always wonder reading this book, this verse that, the most exalted people in the topmost planets, and they don't know the real religious principle, but we hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam how they are worshipping the Lord in Mahaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, and I'm just wondering, what is the difficulty in understanding that this is the ultimate religion? There must be something which is. But what is the difficulty in understanding that this is the ultimate religious principle? Is it the application that...
What is your opinion?
Well, I thought that somehow it's very easy to say Sarva Dharman Parityagya, but to actually fully surrender to Krishna and, shelter is a very exalted type of consciousness that maybe not even these people are able to attain. It's not only Goloka Vrindavan. That's my...
I concur. You may.
Well, first of all, these are not in Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, higher planets. This is Pitriloka, which is down.
Vidyadharas, Charanas. Siddhaloka.
Oh, I see. I see your point. Yeah. Yeah, Manushanam Sastreshu Kaschit Yadati Siddhaye Yatatamma Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tatvataha. To know the Lord truthfully, then you have to be able to surrender completely. So it's obviously a rare person who can do that.
Who actually understand it.
Yes.
I think you answered your own question very nicely, in my humble opinion. Text 20 and 21, the daily double. Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti. 2021? Is it okay? Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, Kumara Kapilo Manu, Pralado Janako Bhishmo, Balir Vayasakir Vayam, Dwadashaite Vijanimo, Dharmam Bhagavatam Bata, Kuhyam Vishuddham Turbodham, Yam Gyatva Mritam Ashnute. Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, Grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavat Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to Godhead. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavat Dharma as the most confidential religious principle. Sarva Guyatamam Guhyad Guyatamam. Guhyad Guyataram. Krishna says to Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, I am explaining to you the most confidential religion. Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharadam Braja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. One may ask, if this principle is very rarely understood, what is the use of it? In answer, Yamaraj states herein that this religious principle is understandable if one follows the parampara system of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, and the other standard authorities. There are 4 lines of disciplic succession, one from Lord Brahma, one from Lord Shiva, one from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and one from the Kumaras. The disciplic succession from Lord Brahma is called the Brahma Sampradaya. The succession from Lord Shiva, Shambhu, is called the Rudra Sampradaya. The one from the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, is called the Shri Sampradaya. And the one from the Kumaras is called Kumara Sampradaya. One must take shelter of one of these 4 Sampradayas in order to understand the most confidential religious system. In the Padma Purana it is said, Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantraste Nishpala Mata. If one does not follow the 4 recognized disciplic successions, his mantra or initiation is useless. In the present day, there are many upper sampradayas or sampradayas which are not bona fide, which have no link to authorities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, or Lakshmi. People are misguided by such sampradayas. The Shastras say that being initiated into such a sampradaya is a useless waste of time, for it will never enable one to understand the real religious principle.
Do we have any information on how it is that, I mean, this is kind of a technical question, but Lakshmi Devi is the head of a sampradaya, but she's not here in this list. I know that's kind of, of the 12 Mahajans. Can we just say it's not a comprehensive list of Mahajans, or?
That's exactly it.
Okay.
It's giving enough of a representative sample so that you understand what the cohesive understanding is of all the great acharyas. And then anybody else who agrees with that is also, could be on the list, but it's solidified there.
Text 22. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the...
It's a famous one.
Oh yes, of course. Eta vanukno nismin pumans dharmat paraksmitaha bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama gradanadibihi. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. Purport. As stated in the previous verse, Dharmam Bhagavatam, real religious principles are Bhagavat Dharma, the principles described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, or in Bhagavad Gita, the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam. What are these principles? The Bhagavatam says, Dharmak prochito kaitavotra. Dharmak prochita kaitavotra. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are no cheating religious systems. Everything in the Bhagavatam is directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam further says, Savai pung sapado dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje. The supreme religion is that which teaches its followers how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. Such a religious system begins with Tannama Grahana, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishno Smaranam Padasevanam. After chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, and the transcendental qualities of the Lord. This way one fully understands the situation of the personality of Godhead. One can come to this understanding of the Lord, how he descends into the material world, how he takes his births, and what activities he performs, but one can know this only by executing devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktyam mam abhijanati. Simply by devotional service, one can understand everything about the Supreme Lord. If one fortunately understands the Supreme Lord in this way, the result is Chaktva deham punarjanma naiti. After giving up his material body, he no longer has to take birth in this material world. Instead, he returns home, back to Godhead. That is the ultimate perfection. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalaya mashasvatam napnupanti mahatmana sangsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls, who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Text 23. My dear servants, who are as good as my sons, just see how glorious is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. the greatly sinful Ajamil chanted only to call his son, not knowing that he was chanting the Lord's holy name. Nevertheless, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, he remembered Narayana, and thus he was immediately saved from the ropes of death. Purport. There is no need to conduct research into the significance of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The history of Ajamil is sufficient proof of the power of the Lord's holy name and the exalted position of a person who chants the holy name incessantly. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, no one can perform all the ritualistic ceremonies for becoming liberated. That is extremely difficult. Therefore, all the Shastras and all the Acharyas have recommended that in this age one chant the holy name. Text 24. Therefore it should be understood that one is easily relieved from all sinful reactions by chanting the holy name of the Lord and chanting of his qualities and activities. This is the only process recommended for relief from sinful reactions. Even if one chants the holy name of the Lord with improper pronunciation, he will achieve relief from material bondage if he chants without offenses. Ajamil, for example, was extremely sinful, but while dying, he merely chanted the holy name. And although calling his son, he achieved complete liberation because he remembered the name of Narayana. Purport. In the assembly of Raghunath Das Goswami's father, Haridas Thakur confirmed that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is liberated, even if he does not chant completely inoffensively. Smarta Brahmanas and Mayavadis do not believe that one can achieve liberation in this way, but the truth of Haridas Thakur's statement is supported by many quotations from Srimad Bhagavatam. In his commentary on this verse, for example, Sridhar Swami gives the following quotation: Sayam pratur grinan bhaktya dukkha gramad vimuchyate. If one always chants the holy name of the Lord with great devotion in the evening and in the morning, one can become free from all material miseries. Another quotation confirms that one can achieve liberation if one hears the holy name of the Lord constantly, every day, with great respect. Anudinam idam adarena shinvam. Another quotation says, Shavanam kirtanam jnanam harer adbhutam karmanaha janma karma dukananancha tadarte kila chestitam. One should always chant and hear about the extraordinarily wonderful activities of the Lord. One should meditate upon these activities, and one should endeavor to please the Lord. Bhagavatam 11:3-27. I think I should read that again. Can I have permission? No, just this verse. Just the English of this verse. Thank you. One should always chant and hear about the extraordinarily wonderful activities of the Lord. One should meditate upon these activities, and one should endeavor to please the Lord. Sridhar Swami also quotes from the Puranas, Papak chayas chabhavati smaratam tam ahar nisham. One can become free from all sinful reactions simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Lord day and night, ahar nisham. Furthermore, he quotes from Bhagavatam 6.3.31, Tasmat sankirtanam vishnor jagadan mangalam sam mahatam apikauravya vidyakai kanchiskritam. All these quotations prove that one who constantly engages in chanting and hearing of the holy activities, name, fame, and form of the Lord is liberated. As stated wonderfully in this verse, Itavatalam aganir haranaya punksam Simply by uttering the name of the Lord, one is freed from all sinful reactions. Govinda. The word alam, which is used in this verse, indicates that simply uttering the holy name of the Lord is sufficient. This word is used with different imports. As stated in the Amarakosha, the most authorized dictionary in the Sanskrit language, alam bhushanaparyapti shakti varanavachakam. The word alam is used to mean ornament, sufficiency, power, and restraint. Here the word alam is used to indicate that there is no need of any other process, for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is sufficient. Even if one chants imperfectly, one becomes free from all sinful reactions by chanting. The power of chanting the holy name was proved by the liberation of Jamil. When a Jamil chanted the holy name of Narayana, he did not precisely remember the Supreme Lord. Instead, he remembered his own son. At the time of death, Ajamil certainly was not very clean. Indeed, he was famous as a great sinner. Furthermore, one's psychological condition... I'm sorry, I got distracted. Somebody's at the door. There's a devotee at the door. Please come in, sir. Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, welcome. The power of chanting the holy name was proved by the liberation of Ajamil. When Ajamil chanted the holy name of Narayana, he did not precisely remember the Supreme Lord. Instead, he remembered his own son. At the time of death, Ajamil certainly was not very clean. Indeed, he was famous as a great sinner. Furthermore, one's physiological condition is completely disturbed at the time of death, and in such an awkward condition, it would certainly have been very difficult for Ajamil to have chanted clearly. Nevertheless, Ajamil achieved liberation simply by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Therefore, what is to be said of those who are not sinful like Ajamil? It is to be concluded that with a strong vow, one should chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For thus one will certainly be delivered from the clutches of Maya by the grace of Krishna. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is recommended even for persons who commit offenses, because if they continue chanting, they will gradually chant offenselessly. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without offenses, one increases his love for Krishna. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prema Pumarto Mahan, one's main concern should be to increase one's attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to increase one's love for Him. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam dharmaya manush Mayi sanjayate bhakti konyorto savivashishite. Sorry. My dear Uddhava, the supreme religious system for human society is that by which one can awaken his dormant love for me. Commenting on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the word bhakti by saying, Prema Bhokta Kak Anyak Artha Asya. There's a period after Prema Bhokta. Is that in the... No? So that period should be removed. I do. Pramay Vokta Kak Anya Artha Asya. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. I submit to your intelligence, to your eagle eye. I submit to your eagle eye. Mm.
This verse number 6.3.24.
Commenting on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the word bhakti by saying prema vokta kak anya artha asya. In the presence of bhakti, what is the necessity of liberation? I see. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also quotes this verse from the Padma Purana. Nama parada yuktanam namanyeva haranchagam avishanti payuktani tanyivarta kadanicha. Even if in the beginning one chants the Hare Krishna mantra with offenses, one will become free from such offenses by chanting again and again. Papak chayascha bhavati sabadantam tamarhanisham. One becomes free from all sinful reactions if one chants day and night, following the recommendation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who quoted the following verse: Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevala, kalo nasjeva, 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 gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. If the members of the Krishna consciousness movement strictly follow this recommendation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their position will always be secure. We got hands up, and they came up exactly the same minute, second.
Prabhupada in a lecture, Ajamil only called the name of Narayana once, because the devotee were reading, he said, Narayan, Narayan. Prabhupada said, how many times? And Prabhupada said, yes, one time. And he says, for each syllable, one Vishnuduta came. 4 Vishnudutas, Narayana. And then he said, for all the sinful activities of Ajamil, which body, mind, and body, just 3 Yamadutas. So I was comparing the power, the potency of the holy name.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Text 25. Because they are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yajnavalkya and Jaimini and other compilers of the religious scriptures cannot know the secret, confidential religious system of the 12 Mahajans. They cannot understand the transcendental value of performing devotional service or chanting the Hare Krishna mantra because their minds are attracted to the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas, especially the Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Rigveda. Their intelligence has become dull. Thus, they are busy collecting the ingredients for ritualistic ceremonies that yield only temporary benefits, such as elevation to Swargaloka for material happiness. They are not attracted to the Sankirtan movement. Instead, they are interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Purport. Since one may easily achieve the highest success by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one may ask why there are so many Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and why people are attracted to them. This verse answers that question. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaischa ahameva vedyaha. The real purpose of studying the Vedas is to approach the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Unfortunately, unintelligent people, bewildered by the grandeur of Vedic yajnas, want to see gorgeous sacrifices performed. They want Vedic mantras chanted and huge amounts of money spent for such ceremonies. Sometimes we have to observe the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies to please such unintelligent men. Recently, when we established a large Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, we were obliged to have Vedic ceremonies enacted by Brahmanas because the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the Smarta Brahmanas, would not accept Europeans and Americans as bona fide Brahmanas. Thus we had to engage Brahmanas to perform costly yagyas. In spite of these yagyas, the members of our society performed Sankirtan loudly with mridangas, and I considered the Sankirtana more important than the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Both the ceremonies and the Sankirtan were going on simultaneously. The ceremonies were meant for persons interested in Vedic rituals for elevation to heavenly planets. Jadi Krita Matir Madhupushpitayam. Whereas Sankirtan was meant for pure devotees, interested in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We would simply have performed Sankirtana, but then the inhabitants of Vrindavan would not have taken the installation ceremony seriously. As explained here, the Vedic performances are meant for those whose intelligence has been dulled by the flowery language of the Vedas, which describe fruitive activities intended to elevate one to the higher planets. Especially in this age of Kali, Sankirtana alone is sufficient. If the members of our temples in the different parts of the world simply continue Sankirtana before the deity, especially before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will remain perfect. There is no need of any other performances. Nevertheless, to keep oneself clean in habits and mind, deity worship, and other regulative principles are required. Srila Jiva Goswami says that although Sankirtana is sufficient for the perfection of life, the archana, or worship of the deity in the temple, must continue in order that the devotees may stay clean and pure. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore recommended that one follow both processes simultaneously. We strictly follow this principle of performing deity worship and Sankirtan along parallel lines. This we should continue.
Yata kantapata sutras ota prochasta sastitaha evam vishnavidam vishram otam protam to samstitam. Always remember that just as the horizontal and vertical threads in a cloth weave together, similarly, Lord Vishnu has inserted himself in every particle of the material world. And now it's time for the Gayatri break. We'll see you back here at 12:15. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Bo.